So apparently, Israel is not an apartheid state. It's not racist and it's not discriminatory towards Palestinians.
You're joking. We're not.
How is this possible? Let's get into it. The U.S. House of Representatives on July 18th passed a resolution reaffirming that Israel is not a racist state and to condemn anti Semitism. This resolution was passed following Representative Pramila Jayapal's statement saying that Israel is a racist state. Is any of this backlash surprising? No, but it's still worth discussion and analysis. Before I get started, hit that subscribe button and like button as it really helps out the channel and gets it suggested to others. Also, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Now let's get into it. Representative Jayapal has since walked back those statements, attempting to clarify by stating the following. At a conference, I attempted to defuse a tense situation during a panel where fellow members of Congress were being protested. Words do matter, and so it is important that I clarify my statement. And I mean, of course she has to clarify her statement because anytime anyone talks about Israel or speaks about Israel or Palestine or the Palestinian issue, they get silenced. She continues, I do not believe the idea of Israel as a nation is racist. I do, however, believe that Netanyahu's extreme right-wing government has engaged in discriminatory and outright racist policies and that there are extreme racists driving that policy within the leadership of the current government. I believe it is incumbent on all of us who are striving to make our world a more just and equitable place to call out and condemn these policies and this current Netanyahu government's role in furthering them. How she concluded her statement was to say, we know that the status quo is unacceptable, untenable, and unjust. It will take all of us, elected officials, movement activists, advocates, and communities to work together for real progress. Now, it's not a shock that following Jayapal's statements that the House wanted to pass a resolution such as this. The continuing relationship with Israel is critical for the United States because of its placement in the Middle East, its connection to the Arab world, the resources there, and a lot more. However, the House of Representatives' attempts to make a blanket statement such as Israel is not a racist state and denying the existence of Israel's apartheid regime is teetering on the lines of historical revisionism, something that I have discussed here on this channel. In order to rebut the House of Representatives' claim that Israel is not a racist state, let's take a look at the definition of apartheid, what organizations and international groups have said about Israel, and the current situation for Palestinians in Israel. An apartheid, as defined by Cambridge Dictionary, is, in the past in South Africa, a system under which people of different races were kept separate by law, and white people were given more political rights and educational and other advantages. A system of keeping groups of people separate and treating them differently, especially when this results in disadvantage for one group. Merriam-Webster defines apartheid as 1. Racial segregation, specifically, a former policy of segregation and political, social, and economic discrimination against the non-white majority in the Republic of South Africa. 2. Separation or segregation, cultural apartheid, gender apartheid. Apartheid has and continues to be definitionally relegated to the specific location of South Africa, as well as any discussions on apartheid. This is being done for what I believe is the sole purpose of obfuscating the realities that Israel is acting in manners that meet the definition of apartheid. Their practices against Palestinians, from the racially separated checkpoints and roads, the open-air prison complex in Gaza, Palestinians' inability to move easily and freely from one location to another, Palestinians being denied visas for travel in and out of the country, Israelis seizing land to build settlements, decimating generational homes in order to purposely subject Palestinians to continued abuses on multiple levels, and not to be forgotten, the wall in the West Bank that many consider to be an apartheid wall. All of these are just a few of the examples of what Israel does to Palestinians that meet the standards for apartheid. But don't just take it from me. The United Nations has stated that Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory is apartheid. The UN Special Reporter report echoes recent findings Palestinian, Israeli, and international human rights organizations who analyzed Israel's 55-year occupation of the Palestinian territory. There is today in the Palestinian territory occupied by Israel since 1967 a deeply discriminatory dual legal and political system that privileges the 700,000 Israeli Jewish settlers living in the 300 illegal Israeli settlements in East Jerusalem and the West Bank. Israel's 55-year occupation of Palestine is apartheid, a political regime intentionally prioritizing fundamental political, legal, and social rights to one group over another in the same space on the basis of racial, national, ethnic identity. Over 2 million Palestinians live in Gaza, described regularly as an open-air prison, without adequate access to power, water, or health, with a collapsing economy, and with no ability to freely travel to the rest of Palestine or the outside world. Israel, he said, conforms to the definition as a political regime which so intentionally and clearly prioritizes fundamental political, legal, and social rights to one group over another within the same geographic unit on the basis of one's racial, national, ethnic identity. Now, all of that sounds a lot like apartheid.
Because it is.
Something that remains quite hush-hush, yet shows the indiscriminate, heinous acts of Israeli soldiers against Palestinians, is Israeli soldiers that have been found to purposely target pregnant Palestinian women with snipers, specifically aiming at women's stomachs, inflicting the worst harm that could be committed, in my personal opinion. If these types of acts don't equate to apartheid and intentional infliction of extreme emotional and physical abuse, what does? In previous videos, I have discussed the situation in Palestine, how the violent conflicts are affecting Palestinians at drastically higher numbers than Israelis, and also the effect that all of this is having on the children of Palestine, which is catastrophic. Last year, I covered how more than half of Gaza's children contemplate suicide. This stems from the massive amount of death, destruction, and hopelessness that they are surrounded by. The now even more far-right regime by Netanyahu and his cronies is making the situation even worse for Palestinians by targeting the families of supposed terrorists that Israel conveniently labels, using those labels and the formation of the Israeli laws to seize the homes for which supposed terrorists reside. This is inflicting more pain and suffering on the Palestinian population because the Israeli government can basically say whatever and whoever they want is a terrorist in order to acquire more property, which generally leads to dismantling and demolishing entire homes. Another aspect of the depravity that the Israeli government is inflicting on the Palestinian population. So is Israel an apartheid state? All of the facts point to yes. The Israeli government practices racial segregation between the Israelis and the Palestinians. I say Joseph! I say Joseph! I say Joseph! From checkpoints, a divided and racist judicial system restricting freedom of movement, and of course, the wall, to name just a few. Then there is the Israeli government and military that is the most highly funded military on the planet. They have advanced weapons, radar systems, and the Iron Dome that continues to get billions of dollars in funding by the United States every single year. And Israel is also the only country in the Middle East believed to possess nuclear weapons. Palestinians, on the other hand, have little to no real weaponry that matches the level of Israel's. Hamas, the most notable faction of the Palestinian resistance, is labeled as a terrorist organization by the Israeli government as well as other foreign nations. However, the reality is that the Palestinian resistance is just that, a collection of resistance fighters. They are oddly similar to the Ukrainians currently fighting against Putin and Russia, but, Palestinians are not looked at through that lens. They have very little to no media power, unlike the Israeli lobby that has been able to accumulate massive amounts of power and influence, both in and out of the United States, mandating practically particular treatment and labeling of both Israelis and Palestinians, most notably claiming that anyone criticizing Israel is anti-Semitic. They have also done a good job at going after BDS, a non-violent organization and movement that is attempting to take the power of currency and have people make a statement through their purchasing power. This is another area where the Israeli lobby and AIPAC are working their magic in making anything that shines a light on Israel and the companies that support their illegal apartheid regime as anti-Semitic. It's the most convenient label they use all of the time for character assassination, to the point where now a lot of people are starting to see through the BS, because it's becoming so apparent that this is the only way they can continue to get sympathy. They are one of, if not the most powerful nations on the globe, still trying to play the victim. The hypocrisy is out of control, and Palestinians continue to suffer. It is apartheid, it is discriminatory, and the peak of hypocrisy is two things. Palestinians were not the ones that put Jews in the gas chambers and murdered them en masse.
Oh, it's hurtful.
Truthful.
That took place in Germany by Germans, yet Palestinians are the ones paying the price and dealing with serious and deadly consequences on a daily basis. Leading to the second part of hypocrisy, which is that Israel is inflicting almost identical treatment they received in Germany on the Palestinians. The media complex loves to make sure that we do not forget the atrocities committed against the Jews during the Holocaust. But when it comes to Palestinians and Palestine, I wonder why that is. It's almost like certain people want to be looked at as the perpetual victim rather than the current realities of being the predator and perpetrator of heinous acts on people that don't deserve it. So yes, Israel is an apartheid state that is heinously discriminatory against Palestinians. The US government can do all the historical revisionism they want, but we know the truth. And it's time to stop acting like Israel isn't doing the things they are so obviously doing. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, as the algorithm overlords and specifically this topic of conversation usually results in at least a couple of weeks of suppression of this channel. I appreciate all your support. If you want to learn more about the situation in Palestine, check out these videos. As always, stay safe, take care, and be kind to each other.